Hey everybody, it's Cece and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk USC Women's Basketball. But today we're not going to be talking USC basketball per se. We're going to be talking analytics with the founder of CBB Analytics, Nick Canova. Thank you for coming on the show, Nick.
No, happy to be on. Thanks for having me, Cece.
Yeah, and I do analytics all the time, and when I found your website, I think it was a year ago or a couple years ago, I don't know. I've been following your website forever because I just love the way you break down the game. Can you tell me what inspired you to get into this?
Inspired me to get into it? Sure. Going back, let's say 8 to 10 years. So I knew I wanted to work in sports. I grew up a math nerd, a data nerd. Coming out of school, I wasn't working in sports. I was working in like business and finance, and I wasn't loving going down that career path and knew I sort of wanted to make the switch into something at the intersection of sports and tech and data. And CBB Analytics is very much at the intersection of sports and tech and data. And so going back to school, getting into programming and coding and learning that whole world. And I mean, CBB Analytics in particular, trying different things. When I was coming out of school, I actually thought maybe I'll throw my hand into sports betting. It was 2017. It wasn't quite legal yet, but it was something that I was curious about. It was at the intersection of sports and tech and data. I didn't really have a lot of money coming out of grad school, and you kind of need money to make money in the sports
You
betting world.
need money to
And
make money, period.
that definitely
Yeah,
helped.
yeah.
And so I was teaching myself a little bit of web development from school. I had learned on the data side how to work with like pulling in data, data analytics, just dealing with big data in general, and had started on a platform that was similar to CBB Analytics, but was built for the NBA. It was built on top of NBA data. And it was my first pass at some of the shot charts and visualizations that are on CBB Analytics. That first path wasn't really going anywhere. NBA teams weren't super interested at the time. I was still learning web development and how to build these applications, and it was very rough around the edges. I don't know. I saw the opportunity in college basketball, talked to a lot of college basketball coaches who were familiar with what was going on in the NBA with teams being more data driven and essentially like building internal data teams of just like internal tech companies of data people, similar to how it was been going on in baseball for even 10 or 20 years prior. And just more difficult to do the same thing in college. Took some of the work I was doing for the NBA and college basketball. I mean, sorry, for the NBA and uh-oh, my I think I
You're,
lagged for a moment there. Sorry if
yeah,
I cut
you're
off.
back. It's okay.
But
You were
yep,
frozen, but you're back.
okay.
Go ahead.
Wasn't going anywhere with the NBA platform. Talked to a lot of college coaches, saw the opportunity, and kind of went headfirst into college basketball. And that was 2018 or so. And since then, it's kind of just been incremental progress, building a little bit more of CBB Analytics every day.
What made you choose like basketball? Are you a basketball junkie? Did you play basketball? How did basketball become the thing you wanted to do analytics on?
I mean, I played as a kid, not super competitively. I was a runner in high school. I'm 5'6", so I don't meet the physical criteria to play basketball. It's one of my favorite sports, even just by myself. I've always liked shooting on my own. One of the things I did very much during COVID was go to the park 3 blocks away every evening when I was done working and shoot for like a half hour as a way to decompress from the day of working. It's a good sport analytically in the sense that one, it's not as far ahead as baseball. It would be very difficult to kind of go head first into baseball with something similar to CBB Analytics. But the data sets are rich. It's a sport. It's my favorite sport to watch. Maybe that's the reason we went into
Yeah.
basketball. I'm a very big Knicks fan and from New York. And I don't know, it's a sport that really lends itself to digging into the numbers. It's not so easy that the answers are obvious, but it's not so impossible that you can't start digging through the data to uncover insights.
How did you market this product? How did you go from, one subscriber to however many you have now? I mean, it's a good site, so I'm sure it's doing very well.
How did I market it?
Yeah, how did you get the business? How did
Yep.
you drive business to your site?
When I switched from NBA to college basketball in 2018, I spent a year sort of building it up as CBB Analytics, trying to get any colleges to look at it. Not a ton of traction early. Kind of ran out of money and ended up taking a job. I was living in the Bay Area at the time. I ended up going to work for the Warriors for a season.
Hmm.
They were the one NBA team I could go work for where I didn't have to get up and move locations geographically because I was in Palo Alto.
Yeah.
And so like that worked out really well. The stars aligned where they were hiring for a data scientist and I was in the area and I was a fairly competitive applicant because I was working on CBB Analytics and lucked into getting that role. Worked for the Warriors for a year. Coming out of the time with the Warriors, hopped back into CBB Analytics, and it was kind of a grind for 18 months. So I left the Warriors right around COVID, so that was March of 2020, and a year and change of just like rebuilding up the platform. And then for the 2020-21 college basketball season, made it a free to use platform for any coaching staffs that were open to using it. I mean, going back to fall of 2020, 6 months after COVID, college basketball was not in disarray, but like that was a very tricky season because March Madness was canceled the prior
Yeah.
year. And the last thing coaching staffs are doing in that moment is like trying to sign up for new scouting services. They're trying to save money so they can keep all of their coaches on staffs. And that year, scheduling wise, was a nightmare.
Right.
And so we just use that as an opportunity to make it available to any coaches that were interested for the year. About a dozen staffs used it. And then the following year was the first year we did signups. We had 12 signups amongst men and women's D1 staffs the first year, and just slowly growing.
Been rocking
Add,
and rolling since,
yeah,
huh? Is
add a
it
dozen
just
teams a year,
yeah,
hopefully.
is it just you or do you now have a partner or some people to help you build this and so on and so forth or keep track of what's going on?
The team is growing slowly. For a few years, it was just me. We recently completed one of our first full-time hires, Peter Newman. He's our chief operating officer now. He did 10 years in basketball research at ESPN, so he's
Wow.
got really good experience on the media side and kind of co-running everything with me right now. About
Yeah.
to finalize our second full-time hire for a data person who's going to help us with all things from analytics to machine learning to predictions to everything we need help with on the data side.
So
So
for someone who's not aware of analytics or CBB analytics, can you explain to them exactly what analytics are, especially in basketball, and what makes it unique?
for CBB Analytics, we
Yeah.
are, I mean, designed as a scouting platform for coaching staffs originally for all of divisions one, two, and three. So we have men and women's D1, 2, and 3 on the platform and designed initially for coaching staffs, primarily for opponent and self scout for pregame and postgame. Something that they can use to complement the eye test and what they see in video, just with the numbers to have a clearer picture of everything for strategy, decision making. Slowly, we've expanded beyond just being a scouting platform for coaching staffs. We've got beat writers and media using the platform. We have a few pro teams
Like
across the
me.
NBA, like you. We have a few
Yeah.
pro teams across NBA and WNBA using the platform.
Wow.
We're finding that agents really like the platform, especially in this new era of player revenue share. Um, yeah, it's grown from, and we also have the just I mean just the fan tier, the user tier we have on the platform as well, which is our lower priced option for everyone from fans to beat writers. Um, Admittedly, the site wasn't designed as a consumer fan app initially, but there were some fans that like to see the same numbers that the coaches have access to. And
Yeah.
so, like, the audience of the platform has grown from just coaches to all of these different verticals, which has been pretty cool to see.
So you're familiar with her Hoop Stats and other platforms, correct?
Of
Are you
course,
familiar with
yeah.
her? Okay. And so with CBB Analytics, what's the differentiator of your site compared to something like her Hoop Stats? I know her Hoop Stats does just women, but what makes yours so unique? I'm going to say mine. My reason is yours is more user friendly, but what makes your site more unique? Do you think?
I mean, not just as comparison to her hoop stats, but even on the men's side, all of the different platforms. There's a few things we do really well. We go, we dig more insights out of the raw data, I think, than a lot of these other platforms. Many basketball sites are most like box score data derived, and we dig a lot of things out of the play-by-play data, from shooting breakdowns to lineup statistics to on-off numbers. Um, New feature where you can see player statistics with their different teammates on and off the court, foul drawing statistics, shooting fouls and ones, charges drawn. You could see team and player shooting numbers in transition versus in the half court. Just things that are not readily available in the box score that take a little bit more digging to get them out of play by play and other data sets. So we do that piece really well. I do think the visuals on the site are very good, from our shot
Hmm.
charts to the scatter plots
I do
to
too.
many of the other graphics we have on the site. I mean, that's what it got started with, actually. Even before we had any tables, when I was building that NBA version back in 2017, that was a graphics only website that I was building back in 2017. It's like, let's take a pass at shot charts and scatter plots and bar charts and all these different visuals that can simplify some of these big data sets in a way that fans and teams can understand a little bit better. And I think we've always done a pretty good job making very clean visualizations that anyone can understand. And it's the combination of, can we like make sense of, can we dig a lot of useful insights out of the data, stuff that might seem complex, but then present it in a way that is fairly simple and easy to understand. I think we toe that line really well. Like there's a lot on the platform. Coaches would call us an advanced analytics platform. I don't
Hmm.
advanced like what is advanced analytics? Like it's just like it's a stats and scouting platform, but we do a good job of making a lot of advanced stats and analytics very easily digestible for everybody.
I'm
Like
gonna
that
bring
really
I'm gonna bring it up so we can show people who are watching actually the site, and you can go through some things. But
be
what
awesome.
what do you think is the difference between like women's college basketball and men's college basketball when they're diving into the analytics? What are the men looking at compared to the women, or are they looking at the same thing?
I think they're looking at the same thing. I mean,
Do
they
you?
look at different things for self scout versus opponent scout or for what they're looking for in the portal. But I haven't heard anything that makes me think that the men and the women's staffs are going to do their self scouts or their opponent scouts any different from one another. I mean,
Let
the
me
site
see,
is built identically the same for men and women's basketball.
let me see if I can get this up. Can you see the screen?
Started screenshot. Oh, there we go. Yes.
Okay, so here is I have we're going to use Southern Cal as an example. Um, Give me some insight as to what coaches are looking at when they pull up your site as far as analytics are concerned.
Sure. So from a self scout basis, these team overview pages are I think are quite helpful from a self scout basis. Even just looking at the very top left table, I know this can feel like a grid of tables to everybody. In the top left, team stats, core stats. I mean, USC is very good, so this is maybe not the best example, but
Oh,
offensive rating 108.8, they're in the 95th percentile. Defensive rating, this is points scored and allowed per 100, scored for offense, allowed for defense. 80.1 in the 99th percentile nationally. So they were pretty elite on both sides of the ball. They played at a very high pace, 74, that's possessions per 40 minutes in the 95th percentile. What made their offense very good? I'm continuing down this first table.
yeah,
Effective field goal percentage in the 79th percentile. So a good but not elite shooting team in the 91st percentile offensive rebounding the ball. So they were very good at kind of grabbing their own misses, very good at not turning the ball over in the 88th percentile turnover percent. And I apologize if I sound like a broken record here. In the 87th percentile at getting to the free throw line. So they were very balanced. They were good on offense because they were balanced across all four of these areas at shooting, rebounding, not turning the ball over, and getting to the free throw line. And I don't know, this is an example of how can you, in like 2 minutes, get a sense for the strengths and weaknesses of a team. Like
right.
teams will typically look at this information before they dive into video, and it can help them maybe like know what to be looking for in video, whether for the entire team tendencies or for individual players.
Okay.
And
So what's another table we could look at? What could their shooting chart or right here we can go to
um,
shooting.
sure, yeah, I think we do a good job with the shooting breakdowns. So and for these, we have them on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. Do you want to scroll down a little bit? So this is the offensive shooting profile, the offensive shooting by zone. Scroll to the defensive portion of it. So yep, even further.
Okay.
Okay. So what do they do really good on defense? So you have it with the green and the red shot charts. So green is good and red is bad. But this is a defensive shot chart we're looking at in the top left. So all of the red at the rim tells me that USC did a very good job of protecting the rim last season. And if you scroll down a little bit more to the shooting by zone tables below, and the reason there's two of these here is that on the left side, it is efficiency, so how well opponents shot against USC, and on the right side, it is frequency, so percentage of shots that USC allowed on defense. And I mean, the two things that jump out On the left side, 50.1% at the rim. Opponents shot 50% at the rim against USC last season. If you hover over the rim on the left shot chart, it'll say D1 field goal percentage allowed at the rim, 57%. So they held opponents 7 points lower than the Division One average at the rim. That alone is a recipe for having an elite defense in college basketball if you can hold opponents to such a low number at the rim. And on the right side, what jumps out, the 26% at the rim is also very good. I think the D1 average is something like 30% of shots come at the rim.
Yeah,
Yeah,
30.7.
30.1. And so they suppress shots at the rim and they hold opponents to a very low field goal percentage. And the 20% in the mid-range is higher than the Division One average. It's 15.8. So they force more mid-range shots than an average defense. So they're forcing opponents into the types of shots that you typically want to force your opponents into taking. And when it comes to preventing efficient shooting at the rim, they do a really good job there. I mean, the whole left side shot chart is red, which means opponents shot kind of poorly against USC everywhere on the court. They only shot 28% in the corners. They held them under 30% on above the break threes. This is kind of exactly what you want from a defensive shot chart for a team. And the biggest thing I've noticed for like the elite defenses on both the men's side and the women's side is the combination of rim deterrence and just like preventing efficient shooting at the rim. If you can hold opponents this far below league average in both
Yeah.
frequency and efficiency, you're probably going to have an elite defense.
Okay. Let's look at some player stats, right? Which one do you want me to go to? Player profiles, player
In
PB.
the Southern California drop down, let's select Juju or anyone else at the very top in the top toolbar. No, up, up,
Uh
up, up, up.
oh, I can't get to it because it's blocked right now. Okay, right
Uh,
here.
um, you can
Let
go to player box. Go to the player box tab where it says where it
player box.
says.
Okay.
Yep, there you
Player
go.
box. Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
Go Juju.
let's leave it up here for the entire team.
Okay.
So where it says traditional box, right now we're looking at the traditional box score stats. On the left, there's the table drop down above the table on the left where it says traditional box score.
Yes.
And so in here we have not just the box score stats, we've got shooting stats, we've got your kind of various offensive stats, assist percentage, usage rate, turnover rate, defensive stats, steal percentage, block percentage. We have a variety of all-in-one metrics on the site, our own custom RAPM metric, which is our in-house all-in-one metric, other fairly common all-in-one metrics like win shares and WARP and PER.
Yeah, that's something new, right? I mean, I want to, yeah, this right here. I want to go to that because can you explain, you guys created this. This is all new. And can you kind of break down why you thought this was important and what it means when, if I'm a coach, I'm pulling up a player and I'm looking at this?
For the all-in-one metrics or just the player overview in particular?
This right here where it says high level
High level
overview,
over.
all these all in one metrics.
Yep. So I think we released RAPM last year, and before that, we didn't have any all-in-one metrics on the site.
Yeah.
Um, our effort, it's tough to, I mean, all-in-one metrics are very tough in basketball to capture everything going on a basketball court. A lot of the all-in-one metrics are a combination of the different box score statistics with just these very big equations, and they do a so-so job of capturing a player's overall value. This RAPM metric that we use uses the possession data. It actually doesn't take in any box score statistics. The way this RAPM stat works is we know who the players are on the court. So think of a data set where we have a single row for every single possession in all of college basketball. So it's got like 10 million, 50 million rows. And then it's got columns for every player. And the only thing that the RAPM model takes into account is who are the 10 players on the court, who's the home and the away team, and then what was the score in those different possessions between the different players. And so it tries to, but it accounts for who you're playing with, who you're playing against, and the score differential. And that's really it. And with just those inputs and 50 million possessions of scoring differentials, it's able to, I mean, RAPM is an acronym for regularized, adjusted, plus minus. So think of it as like a plus minus metric that accounts for who all of your different teammates are on the court. And I mean, 12.1. I think even as a freshman, Juju led the entire nation in Rap'em, even as Caitlin Clark was the one grabbing headlines. I think she might have been first in our Rap'em metric each of the last two seasons, which is
Wow.
a testament to, I mean, how good she is, but like how well SC played with her on the court against tough opponents both years.
Yeah. Okay, so let's what is this? Juju Watkins stats overview. This just
Yeah, just
breaks
trying to do
down.
like an overview with a visual with bar charts. She's good at pretty much everything is the big takeaway. Um, Green bars shooting, 83rd percentile in true shooting. True shooting is a combination of like 2 point, 3 point shooting and kind of how well you shoot at the free throw line and how often you get there. Um, doesn't turn the ball at 12.8% turnover rate in the 89th percentile. So for someone who has the ball as much as she does to have a fairly low turnover rate is very impressive. You'll see lead point guards have kind of very high turnover rates very
Yeah.
commonly.
Yeah.
Usage rate in the 99th percentile, that checks out. The last bar, PFEFF, personal foul efficiency. This is steals and blocks divided by personal fouls. And she's in the 99th percentile in this. There are not many players in college basketball that have more steals and blocks than personal fouls. So to be over
Wow.
one in this metric is very difficult. And she's at 1.8 in this metric. So she has almost twice as many steals and blocks than she does personal fouls, which defensive metrics are tough. I mean, steals, blocks, defensive rebounds. I do like kind of looking at it as a ratio of how many fouls a player commits
Uh-huh.
because I mean, you could juice up your steals and blocks if you're just committing a lot of fouls as well, but can you do those things without
Fouling.
committing as many fouls? And
Yeah.
she's one of the best in the country at that.
And then you have some tables where you can do comparisons, right, to others in the Big Ten or
Correct, yeah. So we're just trying to each one of these a different scatter plot that visualizes just two different metrics on the X and Y. The first one in the top left, usage and true shooting. I mean, usage and true shooting in particular, the further to the right you go on this graphic, the higher your usage rate is. Typically, there is a trade-off where the higher your usage is, the harder it is to remain a super efficient shooter. And so you kind of want to be in the top right of this table. And amongst all of the high usage players in the Big Ten, I'm looking at sort of everyone with a usage rate above 30%, and there's looks like there's like 7 or 8 points there. Probably the lead
yeah.
point guards on many of the best teams. She had the highest true shooting amongst any of these players. A player that can have a high usage and a high true shooting, they're typically the best offensive engines in college basketball, I'll call them, because they can dominate the ball and they can do so and they can remain efficient while dominating the ball. Like it's easier to have a high true shooting rate when your usage is 14% because you're only taking easy shots.
Right.
But can you maintain a super high usage rate while taking 30% of your team shots? And Juju looks to be the best in the Big Ten at doing this.
I think she's the best in the nation in doing it, but I'm biased. So,
I think she might be as well.
yeah. When you look at, so this is what you're talking about, right? But this is in red. So turnovers per 40 minutes, it's in red. So what does that mean?
So on a per 40-minute basis, she does turn the ball over a bunch. Turnovers per 40 for these ball dominant players. It's not that it's not a good or a bad metric, but it's just if you have the ball as much as her, you're always even per game, it's going to be even worse because she
Yeah.
plays a lot. But I mean, when you have the ball as much as someone like Juju, you're gonna. I mean, 3 turnovers a game for her is honestly not bad at all. Even though she's
Yeah.
in the sixth, but that just means that other players don't have the ball enough to turn it over as much as her. But I mean, even in the NBA or the WNBA, you look at the players who lead the league in turnovers, and it's typically a who's who of the best players in the league. It's not bad players.
Yeah. Let's look.
I wouldn't overthink the turnovers per game as something that's necessarily good or bad.
So here's her shooting chart. What stands out to you in her shooting chart?
You want to scroll down to the by zone one again? So she hit 70% of her shots at the rim, and she hit 47%. I'm on the left side shot chart.
Hmm.
She
Over
hit
here.
70% of her shots at the rim, and she hit 47% of her corner threes. Probably her biggest opportunity for improvement to being a more efficient offensive shooter is probably to kind of uptick in her above the break 3 point percentage.
Yeah.
She went 55 for 175. I think that's right around the average for D1 women's basketball
Let's
on
see,
above the break threes. But you're
thirty-one
kind of,
point
and she's probably
four.
taking harder ones. I didn't watch a ton of USC last year, so maybe you have better insights into
You're
how
right though.
difficult her above the break threes were, and if more of them were off the dribble or unassisted.
Yeah, the average you have here is at 30.9, so she's actually above what the average is. But yeah, a lot of it was just catch and shoot or down the fast break, running in transition and stopping and shooting that three. Um, but she's still above the average, right? It's 30.9%.
Yep, yeah, she's not a bad 3-point shooter, and
Yeah,
I mean, on super low volume, she hit 8 of her 17 corner threes last season,
yeah.
and
And then what's this one? Just the shots by region?
yeah, she is a high mid-range player. Which
Yeah, she is.
again, there's like a the debate over the mid-range shot in college basketball, which I'm not always the hugest fan of,
I
but
am. So we can
you
debate. We
are.
can save that for another day. I love the mid range because
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine as well, especially in like late shot clock situations, and especially if you're a player who's good at hitting those shots. And so I think it's fine that she's taking a high volume of them.
now when you look at, I want to go back out here because I want to look at how you have who's on the floor and who's off the floor. Wait,
For you get the player on off, and we got the team on offs as well. If you want to look at
okay, wait,
that,
how do I go back to SC
you can
now?
click on SC, click on the logo in the top right for SC, and that'll bring you back to
Oh,
the team page.
okay. Now where do I go up here to look at the
You can go to
team?
on off. It was the second to last one. You want on off or lineups? Which one are you looking for?
There you go. There's on off.
Okay. Do you want to zoom into the first table for Juju?
Uh, how do you zoom in? You can't zoom
Oh,
in.
oh, it's okay. No worries.
Yeah,
I can.
yeah,
The audience can always pause.
yeah.
So how do I interpret this table? I'm gonna let's take the offensive rating row and read it left to right.
Okay.
So with Watkins on court, USC's offensive rating was 110.5 points per 100 possessions, and that rating with a player on court would be in the 95th percentile. With Juju on the bench, USC only scored 101.8 points per 100 possessions. So they were 8.7 points better per 100 possessions with her on versus off the court, and that differential is in the 85th percentile. And so for Watkins, she had a similar impact on offense and defense. They were 8.7 better with her on offense, and they allowed 8.5 fewer with her on defense. And both of those numbers combined are what give you that 17.2. So I mean, with her on court, USC plus 32 net rating, one of the best teams, if not the best team one of the best teams in college basketball last year.
Yeah.
Um, with her off court plus 15, I mean, a plus 15 net rating is still very good, but you're not in the realm of like the best teams in college basketball with a plus 15 net rating.
So let me ask you something. So if I'm a coach, right, and I'm putting a scout together to play USC and I'm looking at the on-offs for everybody, well, what are the main things that I'm looking at when I'm scouting, how we have to play against Juju or how we have to play against Kiki or whatever the case may be?
It's for Juju step there. So they play at a way faster pace with Juju on court, so you got to be aware of that. She's, I'm guessing that, given her role in the offense, that she is the one pushing the tempo to see that pace
Yeah,
increase with her on the court.
yep. Juju likes to get up and down the court. I mean, if she gets the rebound, she's on the other side of the court within 5 dribbles.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got to look out for that with her. I mean, the team shooting better with her on the court, I mean, that's just because she's a great player. Like, whether it's her own shooting or her ability to get looks for other players on the team. But they did shoot the ball much better with her on the court. Same thing, offensive rebounding, whether that's just like her own individual offensive rebounding abilities or the pressure that she puts on the basket by being on the court and that opening up offensive rebounding opportunities for her teammates. They were much better at grabbing offensive boards with Juju on the court. And sometimes you see a big gap in the turnover percent for Watkins. It was pretty similar with her on versus off the court. Sometimes for some of these star players, once they head to the bench, their team's turnover rate will skyrocket, and then that can present an opportunity for the opposing team's defense to press more or just be more aggressive going for steals if they know that, without this opposing team's star player, they're more vulnerable to turning the ball over. Again, it looks here USC did a pretty good job of not like succumbing to that and not turning the ball over a whole lot more when Juju was out of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Every coach is looking at something different. When coaching staffs ask me like, "Hey, how do I get the most out of this for our staff?" I'll always circle back to it depends on what the coaches on your staff are looking for. Like there's so many numbers on the platform, and it's not because you're supposed to use them all. I mean, that's kind of infeasible. More so that like when coaches have a specific question on, does this player impact their team's rebounding or their team's turnover rate, that we've got that answer somewhere.
So let's look at Kennedy Smith because Kennedy Smith is, she's going to be the go-to player this year. And her skill set last year was basically based on defense. But when you look at her offensively, what do you see?
From the on-off, is she the main ball handler for USC, or will she be
No,
now in Juju's absence? Or
she's not going to be the main ball handler, but she's going to be a go-to on the team. She'll have the ball in her hands a lot, creating, distributing, and shooting.
okay. I mean, this comment is going to be more one about not the fallacy of on-off numbers, but something to be careful with for on-off numbers. So, I mean, USC was still very good with Kennedy Smith on court last year. You could just going down that on column in the first table.
Hmm.
Now, if they were staggering her and Juju at different times, some your on-off numbers are sometimes only as good as the the players that you're like filling in for. And if Juju's on the court whenever Kennedy Smith is off the court, like that's gonna maybe unfairly to Kennedy Smith, like impact her on-off numbers a little bit. And so USC was, yeah, I could say, oh yeah, the numbers here show that USC was better on offense when Kennedy Smith was not in the game. When she played, they scored 106 points per 100 possessions. When she was on the bench, they scored about 113 points. So they were 7 points better on offense with her not in the game. But I would say that that's probably misleading, and it could be just like they're staggering her with Kiki or with Juju, and
Well,
so
probably
it can be
because
a little tricky.
she didn't take that many shots because her focus was more defense last year.
Okay, yeah, and the defense was similar with her on and off, and it was good in both situations.
Yeah. So, um,
Yeah, the on-off numbers are they could be very useful. They could also be very tricky at times because they're so dependent on who's your backup at a certain position, or if I missed a game against the toughest team on the schedule, then that could actually help my on-off numbers because I wasn't there when our team got killed by this really good team. Or if I miss a 3 game stretch and it's one of the softer parts of our schedule, then that could hurt my on-off numbers because, well, our team beat up on those other 3 teams and I wasn't in the game to benefit from said beating up of the opponents. So there could be a little bit of noise in the on-off numbers.
let's look at lineups.
Okay.
So can you break down what this page means?
Breaking down all of the 2, 3, 4, 5 player lineup combinations for all the different teams. And so for this year, we got 5 player combos selected currently. So these are all of the different 5 player lineups that USC ran last season. This table is sorted by minutes played, so you can see their starting lineup played, appeared in 23 games, 430 possessions, 236 minutes. Yeah, I'm sort of reading the table horizontally.
Yeah, yeah.
In 236 minutes, they were plus 117. They were plus 27 per 100 possessions. This was a much better lineup on defense than it was on offense. On offense, they were a little above average on offense.
Hmm.
100.7 offensive rating in the 60th percentile.
Yeah.
What about their offense? They didn't shoot the ball all that well at all, but they were very good at offensive rebounding. They didn't get to the free throw line. They were a little below average at getting to the free throw line. And they did do a good job of not turning the ball over. But this was a much better lineup defensively.
You know what this does is like as you're talking about this, I mean you can really dive deep into a team and see what they're good at and what they're not. I mean, it takes you into a deep dive, not just overlooking their, box score. You know what I mean? You can really dive deep into which lineups were good, which lineups worked well together, which didn't, when they were efficient, when they weren't. That's why I love this site so much.
One thing that if you're the USC coaching staff, now that Juju's going to be out, I believe they announced for the entire year, up at the top where it says select off-court players, you could put in Watkins and you can see, all right, from last season, what were our best lineups that didn't have Watkins in it to give us a sense for maybe like what combinations might have worked last year that we could tap into that you're going to have to tap into more this year without Watkins. And this is definitely one that a lot of the teams like. That we've heard from some teams who like, they used to just stat all these lineups themselves. They would GAs and student managers would spend too many hours a week kind of
Yeah.
deriving lineup statistics because the coaches really wanted that information. And
Yeah.
those GAs and managers are now freed up to do other things because these coaches can leverage our lineup statistics for. And I like that we go a little bit deeper than just, I believe on some other sites, you'll see for a lineup, all right, how good were they on offense? How good were they on defense? And then the overall net rating.
Right.
We try to take every number we compute for teams and make it available at the lineup level. So you can go super deep into that starting lineup or into kind of whatever lineup you're looking for.
And what is this right here? This is just a
Lineup tendencies. This is just trying to get a sense for when different players are on the court. This one is a so-so visualization. I don't know if the idea behind this was to try to uncover substitution patterns and
hmm
when players are on the court and injuries and other things kind of make it a little bit hard to necessarily infer those same substitution patterns. But the idea behind it is just like when are different players on the court and when they're out of the game.
I'm going to stop sharing because I have some questions I want to ask you. So
All good.
that was just a real quick overview. So I want to thank you for going through that. But I have a
Sure.
question. How does all the data get input? Like there's so many games going on any particular game. How do you keep up with all the data that gets dropped into the website?
So this is probably like the strongest area for me, like as a tech person, is on the data side more so than on like the website building side. Um, we've got our data. I'm gonna do a little bit of like data nerd talk here,
Okay.
but we've got our data ingestion pipelines set up. So we kind of partner with the NCAA and the firm Genius Sports, who partners with them to do all of the data collection. And so we programmatically ingest all of the data for, again, all of men and women's divisions one, two, and three. Our pipelines kick off overnight and they take about a half hour to run. And so they run from like 4 a.m. to about 4:30 a.m. Eastern time. And they pull in all of this, all of the game info, all of the player stats, all of the team stats, all of the play-by-play data for all of the games the previous day, pull in the new data, rerun all of our analytics pipelines, send that to the database that they need to be at so the website can fetch that information. So, I mean, long story short, it's all automated because a few years ago when we were setting up the platform and we were setting up our data pipelines and our analytics pipelines, we built it all in. But I mean, dealing with like big data and analytics pipelines is like my strong suit. And so that's, yeah, the
I
magic
just
under the
that,
hood
that
of it all.
yeah, I was just curious because I'm like, how the heck do they keep up with this stuff? Because there's just so much data to get into this website on a daily basis now, especially when season starts, right? And the other thing that you guys are doing now is you guys keep track of the transfer portal data. You know what I mean? Which is really interesting to me. And how do you do that? Do you have a lock in with somebody that's telling you when all these transfers are getting picked up, or are you kind of watching online? How does that work?
So the NCAA doesn't make available to CBB Analytics or to, I believe, any of the different analytics companies who's in the portal. They're very kind of like locked down on who can have access to the portal. One or two of the different teams signed up to CBB Analytics have offered to share their login credentials with us. Not going to mention names, just so like
Of
we can
course
use
not.
it.
Yeah.
Um, for the just because like I haven't accepted their offers because I worry that if we're programmatically pulling who's in the portal from their login credentials, that the NCAA would be able to detect like programmatic use of their login credentials for this, and then that coach is going to get in trouble. So I've always said no. There are a couple of publicly available sources that do a really good job of keeping up to date on the transfer portal on both the men and the women's sides. And we pull from those sources a couple of times a day, at least from March until right about now.
Yeah.
And we'll probably keep the portal code running until the season starts, and then it'll go on hold until next spring. But
The other thing I forgot to mention on about your website is that you can anything that you have, or most of the stuff that you create in there, as far as reports or analytics, you can actually create a PDF on, right? You can create your PDF and print it out. So you can create a whole scouting report to issue to your team players if you want to.
Coaches tend to like paper scouting reports. It's the reporting mechanism of choice in the coaching universe, and
Let me
the
share the
stats aren't
screen.
so helpful if only the video coordinator or only the GAs who are using the platform are looking at the numbers. And
Yeah,
so we wanted to make the entire site print friendly, save to PDF friendly. That way, any coaches, yeah. So we've designed the site effectively so that each page can be its own 1 or 2 page scouting report.
yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you're screen sharing, it might not show your print window in the
Eh,
screen share,
Let's see.
but oh yeah, no, it does.
So it does. So there you go. So there,
We,
you can change it to the PDF right there, so I can download it as a PDF. But here's the actual. It shows everything, and I can input what I want on here, depending on what I want to see. Correct?
For sure, yeah. And it's not the sexiest feature or functionality of the site, perhaps for the audience, but from a coach's standpoint, the ability to, again, save to PDF, print these out, mark them up with a pen for notes that you want to add to them is really helpful because
Yeah,
there are a variety of, I mean, within the organizations, at the biggest programs, oftentimes it's the video coordinator or the fourth assistant or GAs who are using the platform and then communicating this information across the coaching staff. At some of the low and mid-major programs, it is assistant coaches or the head coaches that are using it. But for whoever's using it, the ability to kind of get the information out of the platform and share it with the rest of the coaching staff or the players on the team, super
yeah.
important.
This is just something else that I wanted to show that you can, there's a bar charts builder, and you can build this to show, what each team is doing in a specific conference, and you can also break it down by player if you want to. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yep, at the top,
Um,
teams in
yeah,
one conference, select chart
yeah.
type. You can go, there's a few different options. You can see players on a team, you can see the top teams, you can see the
It's
top players.
select on players.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
so cool, man. There's so much stuff that you can do here. I mean, we could be on here for hours. Let me just stop sharing
When we
because
do demos with coaching staffs, our challenge, like, how do we pack as much into a
yeah.
30-minute demo as we can? But
Now, I want you to, be able to talk about your platform and how, like, an end user, just a regular end user that uses her hoop stats, why they would want to use you, and what your tiers are for them to go on and be able to use your site.
sure, have a free tier on the platform. So if you don't want to pay anything, there's an option for you. You can sign it. You got a default team on the account. A handful of the tools are available on the free tier. Um, ability to like toggle the different teams that are the default on the account. We have a user tier. This is our like fan tier. The user tier currently is $30 a month, and then there are discounts for longer subscription intervals. And we should talk after the podcast if you want to like do a promo code. That way your audience can get a discount for
Okay,
for the user tier throughout the year.
cool.
Our pro, and then we have our pro tier. Pro tier is for D1 coaching staffs and the handful of pro staffs that are using the site, agents. Pro tier is our full access to everything on the platform tier, and it's like on a sliding scale on pricing depending on the organization. So
Yeah,
one of our partners from last season is ESPN, and ESPN is on like the high end of the sliding scale, and
of course.
low major women's basketball program is like on the low end of the sliding scale.
Yeah. So let's have a little bit of fun, and thanks for offering a promo code. I will do that so users can use a promo code to sign
Get
up
a
for
month for
your.
free, so it's not that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Um, um, what are some of the teams that you like to follow, and who's your favorite player and team to follow right now as far as analytics are concerned in college basketball?
When I have time to
Yeah.
to watch college basketball. Um, over the last couple of years, it was probably Stanford women's basketball. So I did my grad school out in Stanford, and Coach Pay and the staff over there, they even when we were still building the site in 2020, 2021, they were the first staffs that was using it to give us early feedback on the platform and like what were they able to utilize, what did they find helpful and not find helpful on the platform. So that was I mean, 2019, 2020
Yeah,
before we
that
were
that was
doing
still Coach
subscriptions to any
Tara
stats.
Vander.
That
That
was
was
still
Coach
Coach
Vanderveer.
Tara.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, my closest buddy, so I did my grad school out in the Bay Area at Stanford, and probably my closest buddy out in Stanford, he ended up working for Coach Van de Veer and Kate for almost like 5 or 6 years doing analytics. And so, and utilizing CBB Analytics and Synergy and other resources, of course, to do that. But they were super helpful early on for us to get that real user feedback, and um, super appreciative to them. And I'm always rooting for them. And when they finally broke through a few years ago, I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
They won
What
those games by 1 point each in the Final
what
Four, and
yeah.
still
Did you
wild.
but did you see the game where Juju got 51 against Stanford? Sorry. Just had to throw that in there.
Sorry.
You know.
This is fun.
Um
Good offense is better than good defense in basketball in general, so I don't take it
yeah.
personally.
I know that you personally might not know a lot of the coaches across the entire nation, but which coach or team do you think is most analytics driven in D1 ball? Men or women?
Yeah. Um, I mean, just in general. So on the men's side, Florida was very analytically driven in their run to the title this year. I think the BYU staff is probably the most analytically driven. They're signed up with us and with like every other analytics program and provider that you could possibly ask for, and they might have the biggest staff in all of men's college basketball
Yeah.
right now between coaches and support staff. Um, you're not going to like to hear this one, but I'm quite close with the UCLA women's basketball staff,
Huh?
The
and
other school. We
they've done a
refer
really
to
good
it
job.
we refer to it as the other school. Thank you very much, but it's all
Sorry.
good.
The other school, yeah, we've got a close relationship with them.
Yeah.
Um, I'm pretty close with who was their video and analytics coordinator. He got promoted to their assistant GM, Sam Skinner, and so we've been close for a couple of years now. And he's been a big advocate of CBB Analytics, and he's utilized it within their program for the last several years. Um, the any of the coaches on our testimonials page, you don't make it there without being very like into the stats and analytics. So that's a sneak peek at some of the more data-driven stabs across men and women's.
Did we talk about who's your favorite player that you ever tracked personally?
I mean, I always enjoyed kind of following and watching Cam Brink in her time at Stanford.
Yeah.
Her like defensive on-off numbers and her impact on the defensive side of the ball were always pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
Um, on the men's side, I haven't watched too much men's content. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
That's
I
funny
watch
for
more
someone
women's
who's
content. That's
building
it.
this site. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there needs to be like a balance. My wife would kill me if I was watching as much college basketball as I probably should be watching.
Yeah,
You got
that's
to have that
funny.
right balance.
Yeah, you do. What's the direction that CBB Analytics is going to go in the future? Where do you see this platform moving to or continuing to grow in? What areas?
Long list of features that we still want to add to the platform. The only difference is instead of like me coming up with the ideas, it's kind of different coaching staffs that are requesting everything, and like the different media partners we have requesting everything. As far as like big things, I mean, I do think some of our feature development, maybe more than in the past, over the next few years, will be tailored towards team building and the portal as it becomes a bigger part of college basketball. Trying to build whatever it is that are the biggest pain points for coaching staffs. And right now, determining like who should be on the roster and all this team building, how much should certain players get, definitely seems
Yeah.
like it's what coaches are sharing is like the biggest pain point. How well do these players transfer coming from a low major team to a high major team? How well do rebounders transfer going low major to high major? How do I project this player who was the 10th person in the rotation at a high major if they're coming down to our mid-major program to be our starting shooting guard? And so like these types of analyses and these types of tools are the ones that I'm working on like currently. Long term, the trend in basketball in general is from a data standpoint is tracking data. Tracking, can we get data that we know where the player is on the court at all points, and can we use this tracking data to then dig super useful insights out of the tracking? Like, can we get catch and shoot first off the dribble? Can we get defender distance on shots? Can we identify all of the players involved in a pick and roll, or if like the player is driving, like what direction they're going on the drive? And we're working on this as well. Like getting the tracking data is difficult, but we're about a year into. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. We're like in a year into a project that we haven't quite announced to too many people. Working on getting our own tracking data and being able to dig insights out of that. So, and then each day trying to add something else to the site each day. There's I the site's in a good spot, but at the same time, I honestly I do feel like we're still scratching the surface on some of the better features that we can get added.
Yeah, look, I think it's awesome. I mean, I forgot how I found your site or who somebody recommended it to me because of the nerd that I am when it comes to numbers and analytics. And I really like dive into it. I really do deep dives and I love it. And that's why I kept hounding you. You got to come on. You got to talk about it. You got to
I
promote
appreciate
it.
it.
I know that you're busy and you're getting word of mouth now is getting you more business. But I just think that even end users, like regular people need to understand that this site is so user friendly and it has so much information on it that if you're a real basketball nerd and really like numbers, they really need to be in your site. You know what I mean? And
Thank
and
you.
that's all the promotion I'm going to do because you're not paying me for this, so it's all good.
No, I
um,
appreciate you hounding me to come on the podcast. This is the first podcast I've ever hopped on. So
Thank
my
you.
comfort zone is in the basement coding, not too much communication and just like staying locked in.
Yeah,
And so I'm glad you've pulled me out of my comfort zone a little bit to hop on here.
yeah, you gotta talk about what you do because it's good.
Yeah, no, thank you.
But if you need me to talk about it, I will. No worry, I got you. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
So,
Yeah, I
um,
appreciate it.
yeah, Nick, that's all the time we have, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you guys want to try it, there'll be a promo code listed below where you can sign up for CBB Analytics, or just go take a look at it. But yeah, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you.
Of course.
All right,
Anytime. Thank you,
fight
Cece.
on, fight on. I know you don't say that, but oh, you did fight on. But you're a Bruin fan, but fight on.
Well, I'm a Stanford fan. I'm not a Bruin fan.
Oh, okay. Sit tight for a second.
Thank you.